Hello and welcome to the Onside Kick. This is Mark here, doing a solo show. Ricky and Dave are both going out having a good time for the 4th of July weekend, so we're not doing the, football team here. This is a track race right now. Just me, solo. But we got a lot to talk about because the off-season has kind of officially begun in Chicago for the Blackhawks and the Bulls. We've been making a bunch of moves, and we're going to talk about all those moves. We're also going to be talking about Dwight Howard and what his going to the Houston Rockets is going to do for that team and for him. But first, let's get straight to the Blackhawks. First, we got to get to some unfortunate news, and that is that Ray Emery is going over to the Philadelphia Flyers, and that's a tough one as a Chicago Blackhawks fan to take because of the Stanley Cup victory over the Flyers, the first Stanley Cup victory we had just 4 seasons ago. So it's kind of a pain to see him go to Philadelphia because we still have that kind of bad blood against that team, but you can't really blame him. He wanted to be the number one guy. He didn't get to be the number one guy. Crawford did that and did an incredible job of it throughout the playoffs and the Stanley Cup finals. Emery didn't get the opportunity, so although we tried to work something out with him and get him a new contract to stay here in Chicago, I'm guessing it had a little bit of a hometown discount. You know, we kind of wanted him to take the lower price, and he's going to go somewhere where he can be the number one guy, both in contract and just out on the ice. But we got somebody back. If you all remember the unstoppable Bulin Wall, Hobby Bulin is back in Chicago. The 40-year-old goaltender who just spent, 4 seasons in Edmonton. Before that, basically he spends 4 seasons everywhere. He started out in Phoenix, then he went to Tampa Bay, made his stop here in Chicago before going to Edmonton, and now he will be back in Chicago. This time probably not for 4 years, but when he was in Chicago last, he started out with about 88% save, then to 90, staying at 90 in that third season, and then in the 08-09 year, he was at 91. So not bad, but not really that good. He's going to be good for the number 2 spot, though, behind Crawford, because obviously Crawford's not going anywhere. And really, I doubt he's going to be splitting time with the Bulin Wall because of just how well he performed in the Stanley Cup Finals and the playoffs in general. Did such a great job, so we don't need him, we don't need the Bulin Wall to split time like Emery and Crawford did. But what we have, the last 3, or I'll say all of Edmonton, the entire time he was in Edmonton, he started out with a 90, then an 89, but the past 2 years, from the 11-12 season, 91% save percentage, and then the 12-13, a 92, so 92.3, to be exact. So not bad for somebody who's just going to be the number 2 guy who's going to come in every now and then, especially when we're increasing the amount of games Crawford's going to play. I would have rather had Ray Emery stay around, but you can get the Bulin Wall to come back to Chicago. Hobby Bulin, he's not going to, be the shutdown guy in the way that Emery and Crawford could both be, but I think he's a good addition. You're not going to get tons of shutouts with him. You're not going to get your miraculous save percentage from, your top guys like your Quick, your Crawford, your Rask. That's not what you're going to get out of this. But you're going to get a solid guy who can provide some kind of veteran leadership. He's been on the bench for a long time. He's seen a lot of different situations in the NHL. Maybe he can help some of our younger guys over on the Ice Hogs kind of learn a little bit and grow a little bit if they get to have any time together. Not saying that's what's going to happen, not even saying that's really why he's brought in, but when you get a guy who's 40 years old, has seen as much as Khabibulin has, you got to kind of expect him to be a little bit of a mentor. He's going to have to take on that role, and maybe we get, Hutton, or we even get Carlson coming up sometime in the near future, and these aren't even that young of guys, so they've seen a lot as well. 29 and 27, so they're not that young, but they can still learn from a veteran, and when you got a guy who's proven to be as successful as Crawford has, and then you get Bulin as well, it's a good combination of a little younger with success and that kind of older veteran who has been through a lot. I think it's a good combination. I saw a lot of people getting upset because of just how old he is, and you would rather have somebody young. But I do think that this is a solid pickup for the Blackhawks. Don't expect tons out of him, but he's going to be able to fill in and help out. So moving over to another guy that left is Victor Stahlberg. He'll be over with the Predators. Couldn't really keep him. Not the biggest deal, I don't think, at least. I think we'll be able to replace him without a big deal. He got a 4-year contract worth $12 million. That's a lot of money that I don't think the Blackhawks really needed to spend on Stahlberg. Let's see. In the playoffs, he had 19 games with 3 assists. I think we can get those 3 assists from somebody else. I don't think that's going to be that big of an issue. Obviously, Stahlberg was hoping that the kind of change of scenery going over to the Predators would help him out and make him kind of more productive, I guess. He's been in a rut, He's not one of our main guys, without a doubt. I mean, we got Taves, we got Kane, we got Hossa in front of him. He doesn't have the opportunity to kind of be as big of a production for the Blackhawks. So, going down to the Predators, I guess he's hoping that change of scenery will help him out. Nick Leddy, our defensive man, will be coming back. He's got a 2-year contract worth about $5.4 million. He's a young guy, obviously, so that's going to be good to get him back. It's got fairly low money, so we can deal with that. It's not a huge restriction to the team. He said himself that he is thrilled to have the opportunity to remain in Chicago and be a part of a special group of young, experienced players on a team in a winning environment. And I think that's a great thing to have. You want those guys who are going to want to come back. And I feel like that's the big thing with Chicago. Everybody wanted to come back. You even saw it with Bickle willing to take a hometown discount where he could have gotten big money somewhere else. Maybe even in some places we really hate, like Detroit. He would have been able to get big money somewhere, but he wanted to play in Chicago. This is a team that has everything working right. We have the young players who are experienced. We do have some older guys with experience as well. But we've been a team that has gone to the Stanley Cup multiple times, been able to win it multiple times in a short amount of time. And we are a very attractive team for players to go to and for players to want to stay. And I think that's a big thing. You want that continuity to the fact that our whole organization knows that's the key. Keeping those guys. Bowman himself had a great couple of comments, and these are exact quotes here. I've always had the philosophy, if you're relying on the free agency period in July to save your team, it's probably not the prescription we're looking for. Adding a player here and there is certainly understandable. Brian Bickle, I guess, could fall into that category. We got him signed a week ago leading into this. He's the only guy you can put into that category for us, the frenzy. And that's a good quote right there because it expresses what is good and what people in Chicago want. There's kind of low murmurings of the D word that I don't even want to say because I don't want to jinx anything or put that label on this team. But when you're in a situation where you're not that worried, We had one guy we needed to get back, and that was Bickle. And we got him back. We got him back for a cheaper price. And with that being said, some people might think that Emery was a very important piece to the puzzle. We needed to get him back as well. But I would disagree. I don't think he is something we absolutely needed because Crawford's going to get more time on the ice. He's not going to be splitting time with anybody. He's our main guy. It's not like the last time we went to the Stanley Cup and we won, and Antti Niemi, he's gone. That was our guy, our main guy. He was here, and now he's gone. That's not the situation that we have now. Now we kept our goalie. We kept the guy who was able to keep us in every series and compete with the best goaltenders. He went up against 3 incredible goaltenders who all played, well, okay, 2 of them played out of their minds. Jonathan Quick had a little bit of trouble, but we got him. We're keeping him. He's not going anywhere. We got Bickle to stay. We got our main core. Everybody's still here. It's what you need to do. And here's another quote by Bowman that I like as well. This one's a little long, but I think the way to build success and sustain it is through the draft and develop your players and add in the occasional player through free agency. If I had my choice, I would do it the way we've done it recently, which is develop from within. Have your young players emerge over time. Don't rush them to the NHL, and really use the draft and the development of your young players as a way to find really good players. Fortunately, we've been able to do that. When we find a group that has had success, we can keep it together like we have this summer. That's the preferred method for us. I think it's the most prudent way in the salary cap world to sustain success. And that's an incredible quote because it shows what we're doing, and it shows what successful franchises do in any sport except for maybe baseball, where a lot of people like to trade away their entire farm systems or pick apart other smaller markets. But you want to be able to develop players in your farm system, keep them going, keep them young, draft good guys, and just let them build up to have this success. And that's something that we've been able to do after such a long drought of being an awful team for so long. Finally, we have, the management and the organization and everything that understands how to do this. We're playing like we're a dynasty, whether we are or not. We have everything built up as if we are one, and that's what we want to be. We want to be the team that can go back to back to back to just continuously be the team that's in the conversation of who's the best, who's the favorites, who's going to go to the Stanley Cup. And this is the way that the Blackhawks have designed their team. This is what we want to do, and I think we did a good job so far. We've been able to keep our main guys, even get some for cheap, and then only add a little bit. Some of the guys that we kept Handzus and we kept Roosevelt, and we both got them. I believe it was Friday that both of those guys kind of signed their deals, and that's going to be big for us as well. Roosevelt's a little older, but he's signing just a 2-year deal. 12 assists and had a plus 18 in 27 games during his first season with the Blackhawks. That's great. I love seeing that. He had 4 assists and a plus 9 in 23 playoff games, which is, once again, just a great thing to have. And he had 3 assists against the Bruins in the Stanley Cup Finals. He was a huge factor in the Stanley Cup, without a doubt. He was one of those guys who was going to be consistent. He's not going to, blow anybody away in the way that Taves and Kane are going to do. But that's not what his role is. He's a great guy at his role, and he's a good piece to keep because now we don't have to replace him. We don't have to find, those extra assists anywhere. But really, the plus 18 in 27 games, I love seeing that. That's great. This is a guy that when he's out there, he's contributing and he's making sure we're staying on offense. He's being able to get the puck where it needs to go so it can get into the net. And I love it. I love seeing that. He's a good depth guy to have, and he's got great experience so far. He's working well with our team, and he's a guy who goes out there, meets and exceeds any expectations that the fans have, that the coaches have, and that the team has. In 11 regular season games for Jesus, he had 1 goal, 5 assists, and a +7 rating. Love seeing that. And obviously a second-line center. That's a big help. We need a guy who we know we can trust. And he really did contribute pretty well at the center position. He was able to win faceoffs. I think we had a lot of trouble in the faceoff department in pretty much, I would say, the entire playoffs, which is something we kind of need to start working on. So Jesus is an interesting one. I don't know if I kind of felt like we might have needed to go and find somebody else to kind of breathe some new life into the faceoffs and kind of, I don't know, just kickstart it again, because it looked like we were having a lot of trouble. But with that being said, I'm glad to see some consistency with Jesus, especially, 5 assists and 1 goal in just 11 regular season games. I'd say that's a pretty big deal. During the playoffs, he had 3 goals, 8 assists, and a +7. I think that's huge as well. When you have a guy who you don't expect to go out there and just constantly, score you some goals, when he can go out there and add that extra bit of, money on the scoreboard with those 3 assists, or with those 3 goals, the 8 assists, obviously that's going to be a huge advantage. And let's add the fact that during the Stanley Cup Finals, Jesus had a broken wrist and a torn MCL and was able to still go out there and do a fantastic job contributing to the team's victories. This is a guy you want to keep around. He's a guy he's a trooper. He's going to go out no matter what. And even when, things are stacked against him, multiple injuries, he will still go out there, play his hardest, and get on the board. What more can you ask for? So I want all of you to leave comments, down below. Also go onto our Facebook, the Onside Kick, and leave comments. Which one of these pickups in the offseason do you think is going to help the most? We're a team that has a ton of depth right now. We basically need to just go back out and do it again. That's the way we're set up right now. We have such an advantage going into next season because we got all our guys pretty much, with a few exceptions. We just need to kind of place a few more guys in, maybe rearrange the puzzle a little bit. But we are set up to go and win more games next season, to go back to the playoffs and hopefully have another shot at the Stanley Cup. So let me know who you think was most important. If you think there's anything that we missed out on, maybe we should have kept somebody. Maybe we should have kept Emery, Stahlberg. I don't know. Let me know. But moving on over to basketball now. It's a little interesting. The Bulls have really set into the we want 3-point shots. Dunleavy is going to be a guy who's going to be able to shoot threes. It's something we were lacking before. And, Murphy can shoot the 3. Snell can shoot the 3. Dunleavy's going to shoot the 3. And Dunleavy's getting a lot of money, so he's going to be contributing every night. He's going to get a good amount of minutes. Not probably our 6th man, but not far from it. He definitely will be in the conversation. These are good guys to have. I think we kind of have to wait out a little bit and see the kind of shifting of the bench mob, the new bench mob 3.0, I guess you could say. We're kind of working on it, moving things around. I don't know. It's apparently the way that the team is being set up. We want to have that perimeter shooting. We want to be able to spread things out and then I'll have a few guys go over into the board, but kind of let Derrick Rose just work all his magic around and have him have the ability to always go in, throw it back out, have somebody shoot a long one. Jump balls are going to apparently be big for the Bulls in the next season, especially the long jump balls. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't know. I think if you've been listening and you've been watching some of our videos on our YouTube channel, you know I'm not the biggest fan of it. People are saying that the Spurs kind of showed that the way you want to go at the Heat is with the jump balls, with the 3-point shots. I think that's a little, I don't know. I don't like playing those odds because I don't think you can count on your 3-point shots all the time. I know last season we were pretty bad at the 3. So I guess it's good to have that improved. But I don't know. I mean, I'm a little nervous, I guess, to see how it's going to play. Dunleavy, I think, is a little bit of a defensive liability, but not more so than Robinson, Bellinelli. So I don't think that's a huge problem for us. I think he'll play fine in Thibodeau's system. I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic about the Bulls for the next season. I think we're going into it the same kind of team we've been, at the same level we've been. You know, if we were giving overall ratings for the past, 3-4 seasons, the Bulls have essentially been at the same spot, which is good. We're a good team. We're just not I would even go ahead and say that we are a great team. We're just not the team that can go out there and win the NBA Finals and beat the Miami Heat. And I think we're kind of trying something now, which is be able to make those long points, being able to shoot those threes, because of the fact that obviously the Heat are going to score some points. So if you keep them down by playing defense and then have the ability to make up differences, because what can Miami do? They can blow the top off of any game at any point, and just all of a sudden they were down by 5, now they're up by 20. And now you're buried because you're not going to keep up with the Heat. You're not going to catch up with the Heat. What the Bulls are trying to do, get those guys who can shoot the 3, shoot the long ball, kind of get guys who can catch us back up. And I think that's a good way to do it. And at the same time, what has been the main problem for the Chicago Bulls in the past few seasons? Injuries. And somebody made a fantastic point to us, and Ricky and I have been taking the heat for our dislike of Snell and that draft pick. Which I'm glad that so many people have come out to defend him, because that's good to see. It's good to see that people are happy with this pick and they're happy with the direction the Bulls are going. But with that being said, one of the best points I saw was that having guys who can play multiple positions is going to be big, because we need people who can sub in different areas to kind of lessen the injury burden that the Chicago Bulls are constantly in. I mean, seriously, how many players get injured by the end of the season on this team? Everybody. Everybody's injured. All our main guys are injured. So we need guys who can reduce minutes. We don't need Luol Deng playing nonstop. We don't need to have all of our guys playing to the point where they're just breaking down. Literally on the court, you can see the point where they're not able to go any further. Having athletic guys who can play multiple positions, yes, it will help with that main big issue that we have, and keeping us a healthier team to where in the playoffs, we don't have to go, well, it doesn't matter because Derrick Rose isn't here. Or it doesn't matter because Joakim Noah's, he's barely even here. We don't want guys who are going to be hurt. Obviously, having sickness issues and getting infections, freak issues like that will happen every now and then. Hopefully they don't happen in the future to us. But having guys, hurting their knees, hurting their ankles, hopefully we can avoid that by reducing some of the minutes and having athletic guys who can play multiple positions. That'll be good to see. And speaking of injuries, Derrick Rose came out to say that he had to be selfish. And I'm going to read the quote here. I'm not a selfish guy at all, but having this injury and going through what I had to go through and being smart, it's something that I had to be selfish with. I couldn't worry about anyone else but myself and my health. And that's the correct attitude to have. I'm glad that Derrick has that attitude, because especially, being the hometown kid, more is going to be expected out of him. And we saw it nonstop throughout the season, throughout the playoffs. People saying Derrick needs to just come back. And no, I'm so glad that he was willing to be selfish and not kind of give up his body for the city and for the fans because of the fact that this guy's our future. We need him. We need him to be at 100%. And he's not going to be able to do that if he had come back early. What we have now is a guy who is rehabbing still. He's still rehabbing, although he's close to being back 100%. He'll be ready by the start of the next season. No doubt about it. Might he be a little bit of a different player when he comes back? There's a good chance he will. It'll always be in the back of his mind. It's going to be hard to just kind of ignore that and block that out. But to have him, and a guy who really is a great team player, to have him come out and say, I know I was being selfish, but I had to be selfish. I think that's a good way to come out and talk to the fans and address an issue that so many fans had with Derek. It's nice to see that he's kind of just gone ahead and said, hey, I know what you guys have been saying. I know what you've been thinking. Let me address it. Now we're going to move past it. Do I wish that he had said that mid-season or maybe even in the playoffs? Yes, I really do. I really wish that he had said that earlier than, the offseason, but whatever. Better late than never. So moving on to the huge headline, that is Dwight Howard is going to Houston. I don't really know why he wants to play in Houston. I would not want to play in Houston. But, hey, Dwight Howard's going to Houston. Omir Ashik is not happy. He wants to get out of Houston now that Dwight Howard is in Houston because he was signed to fairly big money to go and be their guy after his success with the Chicago Bulls, kind of sort of success. And he was doing really, really well with Houston. So well that many Bulls fans are saying, where was that guy? We wanted that guy on our team. So he's going to want out. And obviously, I'm not saying he's going to come back to Chicago before anybody starts making predictions. It's not going to happen. But yeah, he's definitely going to want out. Maybe he heads over to the Atlanta Hawks. That'd be fun, especially since Dwight Howard's going to want somebody, not necessarily a big name, but a bigger name to go and play with him over in Houston. I don't count Jeremy Lin as a big name, but here's your big three. Dwight Howard, you got Harden, maybe Josh Smith. That would be an interesting combination there. Do I think that the Houston Rockets are set up to be competitors and really go at the NBA Finals? No. And here's why. It has nothing to do with the talent on that team because they are a talented team. Adding Dwight Howard is a big deal for them. It's definitely a huge amount of talent. If they were to get Josh Smith, it would be incredible for that team. I would feel happy for them, and their fans should be happy and thrilled for the upcoming season. But you have Dwight Howard on your team. In the past 3 seasons, he's now ended up on 3 different teams. He can't get along with players. He is a locker room cancer. And you're going to be happy that he's on your team. You wanted this guy on your team. I know that you can't say no to big talent and big skill, and especially a huge guy like Dwight Howard playing the center position. You can't ignore that. But with that being said, you're going to invite this locker room cancer onto your team. I don't like that idea. If I was a fan of the Houston Rockets, I wouldn't be that happy about having Dwight Howard on my team because I don't trust him. I don't trust his ability to get along with other players. I think he's immature, and I don't see him ever growing up. So I don't see that he's going to not be the Dwight Howard that ran his coach out of town and then left. Now, didn't even have the courage or wasn't man enough to stay in the place where he ran everything out of that team. He then left, went to somebody who he thought he can compete for a championship with. Couldn't get along with the players there or the coach there. Did not contribute. Eventually just said, basically being a baby, just shut down and was like, whatever, I don't care anymore. I'm going to half-ass it for the rest of this season. And then now he's going to be in Houston. And I'm aware that he did play fairly well in LA. But he didn't play well with Kobe. And I know that Kobe's hard to play well with. It's hard to get along with Kobe when you're on the court. But I just don't like it. It's an immature move to see him just kind of being upset, so not giving it his all until eventually he kind of did perform fairly well for the Lakers. But it's just, I don't know. You see him out there, and you saw the kind of issues he was having with Kobe. You could tell that they weren't happy, and you see Dwight Howard kind of shutting down, and that team was failing. And Kobe magically was able to put them in another good position before getting hurt. And then it was up to Dwight Howard to carry that team as far as he could. The Rockets, yes, they are in a better position than they were before they got Dwight Howard. At most, conference finals. But they're more likely to be in the first and second round. And that's it. If you disagree, let me know. Leave those comments below. Go on our Facebook or tweet at us at Onside Kick Reel. Just let me know. Also, let me know some of the other big things in hockey free agency, in basketball free agency. What were the best pickups so far, and where are some of those remaining big guys going to go? I want to know what you guys want to think. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Go to Twitter, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. So that way you know every day when we're putting up our videos and our reactions to what's happening in Chicago and all of national sports. But until then, have a good day, Chicago.